Dude, when Cobb sends me something, it is like a roller coaster, dude. I just sat down and watched this whole thing. I cannot wait to show you guys this. This is so funny to me. It goes up and down, and this is not even a key, dude. I couldn't even show you a Mythic Plus dungeon. At no point are they gonna do a Mythic Plus dungeon in this footage, and it is still one of the funniest things I've seen all season. Without further ado, let's go. He always types like the weirdest things to me. He says that this is Cop's PSA on paying attention. So I have like no idea what that means. When I start watching this, I'm like, I can't even imagine what this is going to be. He explains a bit though, so I'm just going to read this to you now so you see exactly what we're starting with. Little background, as you know, I moved up into 22s this week, so I signed up for 22 DHT. A few minutes after waiting, the key holder selected a Demon Hunter tank, then nothing happens at all for 5 minutes. The tank starts to get antsy. I suggest that the key holder is just being picky when the tank asks and say if the key holder is gone AFK. Then the key is relisted and the tank rejoices. Almost immediately, the key holder then selects an Arms Warrior from Quell the Loss. This is where the video starts. So yeah, you see that all unfolding in the background. You might have seen like at the start of the content, they were actually talking about potentially like how long it was taking. This guy's taking his time. This is 22 DHT on a fort week. I mean, whatever, like it's a progression key for these guys. They need it for score. We're going to talk about some things that happen and get said right now, but the funny stuff is still to come, okay? Before we start like that funny part, like what, I don't know, the guy's sitting here waiting for an Ogvoker. I don't know what people are thinking about at this point in the season, but like after 16 weeks of playing this season, I just don't feel like they're a good invite at all. But the one thing that you can say is like this specific week, this is recording on the Afflicted Raging week, so it's actually like perfect. If you're gonna bring a Ogvoker at all, this would be the week, absolutely. Do you guys still feel like it's worth being this picky? Like, are you gonna sit here waiting 30 minutes for 22? You know, try to put your head in their shoes. Like, do you think it's worth it? I don't know. I don't feel like it's a good pick at all. I feel like they just don't bring a lot of damage. You're pretty much inviting a utility first spec, and that's fine if you feel like you need it. I think people are really getting baited by when you look at like sub creation or whatever it's called now, and you see they're like the #1 overall spec. I think it's still because of the absolute pinnacle of keys and not like your average pug. But there's just not one signing up. Like it's straight up not one coming. There isn't going to be one. And you know, the Demon Hunter actually said something that it makes me think like, you know, he's probably right, dude. Like if you are actually playing a spec like this, you're probably getting elevated up the chain pretty quickly. And yeah, not a lot of good ones are actually playing at this level anymore. But the guy says, if we time it, I don't care what the comp is. That kind of made me laugh just because it's like, I don't think that's how it works. Like you have to have a good comp to time it. So you got to kind of care about it before you start. Yeah, here he says, be aware Augs aren't popular at the moment, so getting one may be rough. Now, I wouldn't say they're not popular. That's definitely not the way I would put it. Cobb goes on ahead and says they aren't what they were last season or even at the start of this one. I think in terms of popularity, he might be right. Obviously, like last season, they were 10 times more popular. They're also 10 times stronger last season, and that was partially why they're so popular. I think they're still really popular. Like, I still see a lot of people playing them. Like, here's like recent runs, you know, from the last few weeks. Like, there's still a decent amount of them. Not all of those people are Og, though. We actually have seen 2 or 3 Devastation Evokers in the past few weeks. But yeah, I do imagine that, like, at a lower key level, it's probably not that popular at all because it's just not needed. It doesn't really bring anything. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit funnier. The Quel'Thalas Arms Warrior says mages are on fire this season, literally. I don't want to go into all this again, but like, yeah, we've had some real battles with Fire Mage, man. I think like the TLDR here is it's just really hard to play, and a lot of people are getting, again, baited by what they're seeing on like Archon type website where they see it's the top spec in the game, and they think like, okay, I'm just going to play that and get invited to every key I do. Well, that's great. Unfortunately, we constantly see Fire Mages doing like 100,000 less DPS overall than other specs. People in the stream are trying to like justify that they're like doing more boss damage, so that's valuable in some way. I don't really care to get into that today, but I just think it's funny how when you're doing like these lower keys, there's almost this weird perception that's built up around the top end of the game that just for some reason trickles down into the level where it's just not relevant. It's a hard thing to understand too, because like I think if everybody just was able to think with their own head, like their own opinions based on what they're actually seeing in keys, people would probably have very different opinions about things. But instead, like so many people just are copying what like the best players in the world appear to be doing that they just can't seem to override that with what's actually happening in keys. Like, I don't know, are you guys having success with Og and Fire Mage in a 22 fortified? I don't know. If you guys are, then feel free to invite it. But like, I certainly can't see myself having that type of success. That would give us a 20-30 minute wait time just to try to get one of them. But anyway, he sent me this. So I'm like watching through this footage. I was like, oh God, no, I'm not going to make a whole video about fire mages again. Please don't let this be what the video is about. So then the Demon Hunter tank says, I may bounce. Sorry, this is taking way too long waiting for a class that isn't that good anymore. We are now almost 9 minutes into this footage too, by the way. So like Cop has apparently, based on what he tells me, already been in this key for almost 15 minutes. The warrior says sadness because obviously they just lost a tank. Cop says, yeah, it was sad. It was taking too long, but I get it. I also understand waiting for an AUG for this week. I mean, like I said, it's definitely a good week for AUG. So if you're going to wait, you might as well grab one. Then this is where it starts getting ridiculous. And this is why he sends me the footage. Okay. So Cop's like, I don't mind. I'm just going to wait. I'm looking to get some score. He's actually like pushing right now, which is awesome to see. Then the warrior says, I got this in a 23 already. So he's not doing it for score. Instead, he says, I want to run this 8 times to secure a neck on my vault for Fury Spec, LMAO. I'm just going to read it all again so there's no like misunderstanding what gets said. I already have this key in time, but I want to run this dungeon that we are in, 22 Dark Heart Thicket. He wants to run this dungeon 8 times to secure a neck on my vault for Fury Spec. Cop says, as far as I know, that's not how it works. I've gotten loot from all don't say dungeons, bro. Don't send me footage if you're going to type dungeons. Anyway, he says, I've gotten loot from all dungeons I haven't done like at all before, lol. The guy says it is. Like, he's super confident about it. Then just links Razan's gleaming eye. Like, if this linking the trinket is proof of it. He says, I got it running AD 8 times. He does say, like, only AD items were in the vault. Cop says, you got good luck then, my friend. Totally doesn't work like that, but you do whatever works for you is good. And so this is why it gets kind of funny and kind of weird at the same time. Because, like, now this dude's, like, convincing other people that this is the way it works. He says, oh, really? So your vault depends on which dungeons you do? Question mark. Cop's trying to, like, push back against this because, I mean, honestly, this is not something that you should be spreading around. He goes, nope, he's just lucky and superstitious. The warrior then interjects, says, no, it does. And occasionally you will get tiered. I mean, I think that kind of disproves his side. I mean, if you get tiered, doesn't that just kind of show that it's not coming from AD? He says, if you never did Rise, for example, you won't get items from there. The druid says, this is the first time I've heard of it. And then the warrior says, it's the same thing that applies to raid. If you don't do Fire Act, you won't get a trinket on the vault. Pop doing his best to push back again. He said, I actually have gotten loot from Rise when I hadn't even done it yet, even on a 0. Moreover, I have gotten a Fire Act trinket when I hadn't killed him yet. Now that's an interesting one because I think there is some precedent there for actual raid content. I've been told, like, I don't raid anymore, so I don't know, but I've been told that the way it works is like you can only get loot from bosses you have already killed that season. So I've heard that like people straight up don't kill certain bosses on certain characters that they're trying to gear up just so they can like guarantee a higher chance. I think Blizzard has responded to this. I have no idea. This is not how it works in 5-man, surely, right? Like, does anybody believe this is how it works? I'm happy to hear a case for it. The druid says, yeah, I knew that. Actually, I just came back after a few months, and then it escalates. The warrior calls him a liar. Bro, you're calling him a liar over this. He said, you must have just gotten it from the cache. Like, what, the heroic box? He's talking about that? He says, also, you have AOTC. 5, is that 5? No, that's, yeah, 5 question marks. That's a lot of questions. But bro, he's upset. Okay, so they actually are back to normal. So they finally invite a tank. Like, we now have 4 people, and he's just going to go ahead and take a shaman instead of the Ogvoker. So we have 5 people in the group. This footage is now 20 minutes in. Cop said it was like at least 5 or 10 minutes more. So he's potentially been in the dungeon for 30 minutes now. In that time, we've seen the Demon Hunter tank, the first Demon Hunter tank, say, I don't care what comp we have. Then he's complaining. Then he's happy. Then he's complaining again. Then he leaves. And we have a warrior talking about like how to like manipulate RNG in the game, like if it's a fact. And then the druid healer finally just says like, forget it. I'm just gonna, let's just do the key. Just invite anybody who's qualified and let's just go. Sensible. Great idea. Totally agree with this concept. Then he says, Bio, be right back. Could you please summon me? Yeah, whatever. Fine. We'll summon. Okay. Don't worry about it. Just sat here for 30 minutes. Now all of a sudden the guy needs to use the bathroom and needs a summon because of that. And it's just like a kind of a power move from Cop 2, to be honest. He actually goes out and only summons a druid and then walks back in the dungeon. Yeah, he just straight up like ignores those other 2 people. He just walks back in the dungeon. Those 2 guys aren't here either. He's just gonna go ahead and summon the druid. They're gonna go back in. And now it's time. Like, come on, let's get serious. Time to upgrade this key. We just waited 30 minutes for it. I'm here for score, bro. Trying to get some progression made. Trying to push the Demon Hunter tank. He's strategizing, bro. Like, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Lust first pull. Pop asks, are we doing any invis skips? Like, yeah, total great question, man. There's a lot going on in DHT nowadays. You never know what the guy may be skipping, especially as Demon Hunter. There's all this weird tech you can do as Demon Hunter tank in the game right now. You never know. And the warrior says, OMG. I thought this was Black Rookhold. My bad. And then leaves the fucking party that he just went on about RNG manipulation for 30 minutes in. Yeah, oh my god, dude. When I saw this for the first time, I was cracking up. Here is Cop's reaction, like natural live reaction to it. I think it's worth seeing as well. Look at his face palms, dude. He's just like, he's speechless, dude. He can't, he's so speechless. He doesn't
I swear to God, I'm going to make a clip of that bit. Me joining and the Warriors talk, and I'm going to send it to Metro. Not even the key, just that.
Well, he did just that. And yeah, honestly, this is like, I was watching this like at the edge of my seat, waiting for the moment when the funny stuff happened. Like, I was like, oh, is it about the fire mage? Is it about how long it takes? Is it about the demon hunter being impatient? It's about none of those, dude. It's like how clueless people are in this game. It's so funny to me. I just can't get over it, man. The social element of World of Warcraft pugging, especially lower keys, Mythic Plus, is just so rich. It is so vibrant. I've been talking to people that I haven't talked to in a long time. Harry, he might be featured on the channel again soon. He might finally be coming to do some tanking on US. We're going to do some coaching. If we do that, we'll be playing the Observation Evoker again, but we'll talk about that when it's more formalized. He spoke to me. He's like, I'm surprised you still enjoy doing Mythic Plus on a Blood DK after all these years since Legion. And I said to him, bro, it's not even the Mythic Plus. It's not about the affixes. It's not about the dungeons. I mean, obviously, I love death striking. I love the way Blood DK plays, yes, but it's about none of that, dude. It's about these moments. You can go through hours of misery, hours of hate, people second guessing the tank, like arguing about random things, but when you find these like truly hilarious moments, they're all worth it. Like, you will not see this in another game, dude. Like, I've never seen such organic, funny things come out of the socialization of this game, and it is truly what keeps me coming back. I hope it is the same for you guys. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with streaming. If you guys are out there running a key, like really any keys, low keys, high keys, doesn't really matter, dude. Just press the record button. If you find hilarious stuff, send it in. We could all laugh. This one we could also learn from too, I think. So thank you for watching. We will see you guys in the next one.